Hey, hi everybody. I'm gonna put the link right now. So if anybody wants to come up and chat. Hey, hello Carla. Thanks for dropping by. Um, Putting the link here now. Oh, I'm doing great, Carla. And thanks for asking. And yourself? Yeah. Oh, cool. That's good. Oh, cool. That's good. Oh, thanks a lot, Carla. Thanks a lot. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna see if anybody shows up. Hmm. Wonder where that book is. I like it. Oh, good. Okay. Here we go. Here's from my book called Spooky Campfire Tale. Here we go. We attended the local dance together, my pal Arnie and I, and we made a quite splash among the fair ladies, if I do say so myself, with the pretty company and the illicit moonshine they were serving in the punch. Arnie and I ended, ended that evening a little worse for wear. That moonshine was strong. Oh, like that. Do you remember how to get home? I asked Arnie blurredly. There were at least three Arnie warnings for dominance in my vision. I addressed my question to the middle one, but was the one on the far right? No one answered me. Sure, I said, Arnie said cheerfully. Just follow me, Jack. He headed out of the door in the wrong direction. At least, I was pretty sure it was the wrong direction. I caught him by the arm and spun along before he walked into the river. The sudden twist turned his broad red face interesting shade of green. The sight of his queasiness made my stomach start to feel funny too. Let's go this way, I suggested, pointing towards the road in front of the dance hall. Gee, great idea, Barney said and flung forward. Literally, I picked him up from around the ground, dusted him off a bit carefully, negotiated my way around the large swoop that had tripped him up. Then we were free and clear, walking down the blurry road towards our homes, which stood side by the side on the other side end of the neighborhood. You know, I never knew how much effort walking took getting one foot in front of the other and sending them both in that direction. I intended, while not jumping into obstacles, was quite challenging that night. Well, you know, Jackie, my friend, I think maybe we're a tad too drunk, Artie said to me as he walked into a low-hanging branch on the side of the road. Do tell, I invited, catching him before he fell over again. I'm telling you, Arnie, blinking owlishly at me, say you're not looking too good. This was this was an understatement. Every thud of my feet against the ground was making my stomach do flip flops, and my head felt as a few dozen drummers had felt off residents inside. If I had a mirror, which thank God I did not, I was sure my complexion would have been a sickly shade of green, as it was I felt pale and sweaty and not well. Let's just get some. Let's just let's just get home quick, I said to Arnie, who nodded in complete understanding. He was a much larger guy than I was, standing well over 6 feet tall. He looked like a linebacker, so the moonshine hadn't hit him quite as hard as a medium-sized string being like me. At least not yet. We cut through the graveyard and saved 10 minutes. Marty suggested pointing to the left. I peered intentionally into the darkness. Things were still crisscrossing and blurring in front of my eyes. But I finally made out the distinctly instinctively cut shapes of some tombstones and at least one mausoleum. The local graveyard was fairly well tended, with gravel paths and nicely cut grass, and just enough shade trees to make it a pleasant place to visit. They usually departed during the daytime. At night the shadows depended and darted mysteriously hither, hither and thick and thicker inside her among the stones as if they had a life of their own. In the wind moaned through the trees, rustling the leaves until they sounded like the voices of the dead. I'm going there, I said firmly, turning away with an air of fairly and knocking myself in the head with the same branch that had just been arting. The drooping did not help my poor aching head one bit. Oh, yes, you are, said Artie, taking me by the arm and rocking us both right back into the low hanging tree branch. We picked each other up off the ground and staggered into the graveyard. Spooky, I whispered to Arnie, getting rather carried away on my own sound. He must have liked the tone, because he repeated my comment, and his booming voice echoed strangely within the mausoleum on our our right. I know I said there were nice gravel paths in the local graveyard, but Arnie and I find any of that night. We just wove our way through the graves, walking all over the good dead folk of our village in our determination to get home one piece. I don't know which was spinning more, my head or my stomach, but all at once I knew I couldn't go on. We reached the middle of the graveyard, and I couldn't move a step further. Without being sick, motioning hard to keep going. I dodged behind a tombstone and quietly got rid of all the food I eaten at the dance. Staggering away from the smelly mess I made, I sat down on a sandy grave and leaned back against a tombstone to rest. I could hear Arnie humming to himself as he climbed over the ornamental front fence that surrounded the graveyard and fell face down on the pavement on the far side, right next to the open gate. The whole world was still shaking slightly, and my stomach was still touched. So I stayed there while I was as Arnie staggered to his feet, and continued to down the road. Suddenly, I felt a bony tap on my shoulder. It was a human and unexpected that I gave a shriek of surprise and whipped my head around to look behind me. I was expecting another low hanging branch, but what met any gaze was something much worse. A tall, bleeding white skeleton with flickering blue light glowing in its socket was gazing down at me from the beside the tombstone. "Excuse me, young man," the skeleton said politely. "Well, I replied hoarsely, unable to catch my breath. "You appear to be sitting on my grave," the skeleton continued. What? I said, staring bug-eyed with my heart was thundering in my chest and my muscles were frozen stiff. "Can you hear me?" asked the skeleton, waving a bony hand in front of my eyes. I said, "You are sitting on my grave, and I can't get in." What? I gasped. The skeleton leaned down until his bony face and the blazing blue lights that were eye sockets were right in front of me. I said, it repeated slowly and patiently, as if we were speaking to a very bad person. "You're in my way, and I can't get into my grave." That did it. "Wow!" I screamed, leaping to front of the grave and fleeing for my life. Faintly just above the sound of my screams and pounding feet, I heard the skeleton mutter, "Really, young people these days no respect for the dead?" Then he climbed back into his grave. I passed Artie on the road and kept right on going. Eventually, I collapsed on my front porch, leaning to the rail with both hands, and I caught my breath. I was stone cold sober and shaking like a leaf when Arnie caught up with me. "What happened?" he shouted. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "No, just a skeleton," I replied, laughing hysterically in fear and relief. Then I told him the whole story. He didn't believe me, of course, even though I swore on a stack of Bibles that it was true. Told me I was drunk and imagined the whole thing, which of course might have been the truth of the matter. Still, I never walked through the graveyard again, just in case. Well, there are a lot of legends about walking through a graveyard. People always say that walking through a graveyard at night can be very, very spooky, very, very spooky and very scary. Very, very scary. Very spooky and scary. Well, we can. I can read more of these stories, from the book I have here. I could check more online because, online there's a lot of stories online. Like there's one called The White Lady. There's one. I think the next time I'm going to read you guys the White Lady. I'm going to read that one. Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah. Playing piano. Yeah. A lot of these stories can be really scary. Okay, let me go find one. Oh, Oh, I'll be right there with you guys. Hey, hello, Denise. How are you? How are you? Thanks for showing up. I was just doing some reading here, reading to the chatters. If anyone there was listening. Yeah, some stories that I read here, some short stories that I read. I was reading a ghost story about a man who decided to take a shortcut through a cemetery and sat on a tombstone. And one of the dead came up and told him to get off his grave so I can go back into my grave. And it was actually a skeleton, like a Green Ripper that told him to get off his grave. Pretty scary story, my God. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna work on I'm gonna work on one next time. I'm gonna get some notes on one. It's a story about a lady that was called the they call it the five lady, the 5 cents lady. They call it. That's a scary one. Thanks for stopping by. Muscle, you know, thanks for dropping by. Muscle Chill. Hey, Rusty, how are you? Yes. Yeah. I hope my story. I hope. I hope. I hope everybody. I hope whoever heard my story, my reading today, I enjoyed it. And tomorrow I will tell you another one. Hmm. Um, well, I'm gonna get off here now, and I'm maybe come back tomorrow. But see you all, and thanks for coming. Have a great evening, everybody.